So now we want to explain the role of the International Monetary Fund as well as the World Bank, and they are totally different but similar. Let me explain. So let's look at the role of the International Monetary Fund. It was founded after the Great Depression and it's gotten 190 member countries, and its whole purpose is to promote the health of the global economy by accomplishing five main objectives. Number one, promoting the international monetary policy cooperation. So we want countries to work together on their international monetary policies and solve problems together. Because inevitably, one country's monetary and financial problems will affect another country because we're living in an increasingly globalized world. Number two, we want to facilitate the expansion and balanced growth of international trade. So, in conjunction with the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund acknowledges that trade benefits both parties involved. So, both organizations have rules. The WTO, especially, has rules around protectionist policies for its member countries. And so, if we are able to expand and grow international trade, there's an inherent assumption that the welfare of the world will go up. We also want to promote exchange rate stability, and we want to do that because we are living in a globalized world where there is international trade, where people travel regularly to different countries. And so, in a world with increased savings in foreign bank accounts, we want to make sure that people's funds are safe and that people have a level of confidence in the future growth of the economy and the world. Number four, we want to assist the setup of a multilateral system of payments. And so, in an increasingly globalized world, sometimes one country or multiple countries need a way to pay each other in their own currency. And so the IMF is partly responsible for facilitating those payments by impacting and influencing policies that each country makes with regards to those areas. So something like the SWIFT code, for example, would be something that the IMF would be interested in having a say in. The IMF also want to make resources available with safeguards to member countries experiencing balance of payments difficulties. We all know that if we run a consistent current account deficit and a consistent financial account surplus, there's a possibility that the country will get into long-term debt, which again has its costs. So the IMF looks at the current account and financial account of every single country and wants to keep track and make sure that those accounts are sustainable over the long term. The IMF achieves all of these goals by surveillance, so watching over every single country, technical assistance, so providing policy suggestions, as well as lending. And again, the IMF lending money is a form of tied aid because they usually want you to follow whatever policy suggestions they give you before they give you the money. The role of the World Bank, let's look at that. So the World Bank was established to help European countries rebuild after World War II and has two main goals: to reduce extreme poverty and to promote shared prosperity. And so looking at this, it's much more of a humanitarian-centered organization, and it's also now grown to have, I think, 189 member countries as well. So the World Bank does this by providing internal investments to low and middle income countries focused on five main objectives. Number one, health and education. So with this, we're looking at HIV/AIDS epidemics. We're looking at sanitation, whether the country has a clean and accessible water supply. We're also looking at education, right? Literacy rates, the amount of people that graduate high school, university, so on and so forth. Number two, agriculture and rural development. Is there a accessible water supply and irrigation program that can help the country have a thriving primary sector? Because that's the first step. And then number three, environmental protection. how can we reduce pollution and ensure regulatory compliance by economies that are primarily secondary sectored, right? Because when there's a lot of manufacturing companies, there tends to be pollution. And also, pollution isn't limited to one country. One country's pollution might end up affecting other countries. And number four, infrastructures. So roads, railways, and electricity, pretty self-explanatory. Then number five, governance. This one mainly looks at anti-corruption. Again, the World Bank's focus is every dollar spent on growth and the reduction of poverty.